This is for the ones who always had to bend over backwards because they felt like they needed to gain approval from others. It's time to step out of your people pleasing era and enter your unapologetic era. Hey guys, it's Patty, and welcome back to Patty's Path, where you journey with me on this path towards our highest version through spirituality, self-development, sisterhood, style, surfing, and traveling. I have actually wanted to make this video for quite a while now, and it's because, well, I've mostly grown up to have this people-pleasing tendency within me. But recently something happened that really shook me to the core, and I was like, that's it, I'm done. I am very nice, but I just don't want to be too nice to people who don't deserve it anymore. So before I start this video, I just want to tell you a backstory of that specific incident that really compelled me to make this video. So long story short, I went to a trip on vacation basically, and I went solo. So usually when you're solo traveling, you have all this time to yourself, you don't have to cater to other people's schedules, and basically just have that autonomy. That's why I wanted to do it. But with solo traveling comes that need to kind of like make friends as well, or like branch out, because you're on your own, so you'd want to get people to be beside you or with you in that trip. And as for me, I'm really good on my own. I super love my alone time, but since I was traveling in a place that I'm not super familiar with, I wanted to make friends, and in the process of making friends, I kind of let go of the specific standards and boundaries that I have for my friendships. So I really have been in this era, in this 1 year of singlehood of mine, wherein I really listed and are upholding my standards and boundaries, not only for relationships but also friendships. And I had that list in mind, but for some reason while solo traveling, I kind of got loose with it and put it aside because, well, you're solo traveling and you just want to make friends, right? So I kind of put it to the side, and I did that not knowing that it would later on not be for my highest good. Basically, it came to one point wherein I know the type of person I am. I'm very like love and light, spiritual, gratitude, thank you God, thank you universe, like very soft. I always speak in the language of English, like I'm more comfortable with that. And I'm just very like, like demure. But I was put in a situation wherein I could just tell that they're nice people, but they're not my people. And a part of me already knows my standards and boundaries for people. That's why I was very closed off in the beginning. But slowly but surely, I wanted to open my heart even more because that was kind of my intention for this trip. So I did make friends, but at one point it felt like as if it really wasn't my group, and I kind of like was shape-shifting into this person that would fit the vibe or would ride the trip of the group. And this is not to hate on them, and they were good for the memories, but there are just some people who are not for long term, and that's okay, that's adulthood. So specifically when it comes to the boundaries and standards in this friendship, I know I have these standards that keep my precious energy preserved when it comes to friendships and relationships, but since it was put to the side and I was kind of like in the place to people please or shapeshift into someone who would fit in the group. And again, this is not a hit to those people. They were lovely and we made beautiful memories, but I think I was just projecting that, oh, I'm on a solo trip and I'm having the time of my life, let me live in the moment and not care about my standards vibe. So that was where my mind was at. I think I was just trying to have a good time with myself, with everyone, so I really didn't keep those standards and boundaries in mind. It caused somehow of like a downfall. It turned to bite me back in the ass later on, because if some people are not for you, it will eventually show. And if you in the start already know that these people are not for you because you have your list of standards and boundaries, but you put them to the side, that's kind of endangering your precious energy. And I think that's what happened to me. Like, long story short, since these people, inherently I knew they weren't like my people, it ended up with me feeling betrayed, hurt, and even confused, because I was like solo traveling and You know, you thought you'd have these people by your side, but apparently not. And that's one lesson I had to learn. But definitely the lesson is I do not want to people please anymore, and I definitely want to stick and adhere to my standards and boundaries. Like, as for me, I really value loyalty, accountability, responsibility, and the ability to hold such a safe space for all my emotions in a friendship. Like, that for me is a mature and fulfilling friendship, and I just didn't get it in that. And although it hurt like a that's life, and people are just not meant to be in your life if they're not meant to be in your life, you know? So that's the specific incidents that really compelled me to make this video. And for a long time now, growing up, as I said, like, I had this people-pleasing tendency, and I am slowly entering this era where I just don't give a like, call it the villain arc if you must, or the unapologetic era, but I really am entering in that because I am in this space where I do not want to take shit anymore. I know my worth, I know how precious my energy is, and I don't want to infiltrate that with people who are not deserving or who are not good for me.
Okay. Well, if that makes me a villain, then so fucking be it. I can play the fucking villain.
Her. But before we actually dive into how to stop people pleasing, you'd want to know where this people pleasing tendency actually comes from. And honey, the answer lies in your childhood. May it be your parents, your friends, your school environment, or whoever took care of you while growing up. Your people pleasing tendency would come from that. And as someone who has education on psychology and a registered psychometrician here in the Philippines, the ages of 0 to 8 years old are the most crucial, or they would say the formative years of a child, wherein how you are treated by your environment, like what I said, your parents, your friends, your school, is super important to how you grow up. It molds your character, your values, even your likes and interests. Those types of things develop during those years of 0 to 8. So the people-pleasing tendency would also come from that stage of your life. Like, for example, if you grew up in a household wherein you would have to have the biggest achievements just for your parents to notice you, to acknowledge you or give you attention, then obviously that's where the people-pleasing tendency would come from. Like, as for me, I love my parents so much, but I can't deny the fact there were some flaws in the parenting. Like, I remember growing up as a child wherein my sister and I would get compared to other kids, especially the kids of our other relatives. Like, our mom would say something like, "O, tignan mo yung anak ni tita Darada, nakaka-achieve na siya ng mga ganito, summa cum laude siya." So it would be instilled in our minds that we would have to be in the same level as them, or even greater. And in our household, for some reason, like being an overachiever, and possibly because I come from a Filipino family household, being an overachiever is just the bare minimum. Like, you know how in school there are the mellow people, the achievers, and the overachievers? Being an overachiever was our bare minimum. And so this carried on with me until my adulthood, wherein even with my work, anything that I do, I overachieve or go 101% because that's just how I was raised up. And that people-pleasing tendency came in wherein I have to do this or I have to do 101% to please blank. Like, it was always because I had to seek external validation from a parental figure or just a person of authority. So if you think about it, this people-pleasing tendency comes from the fact that your validation comes from an external or an outside force rather than an internal validation. And this goes the same for, let's say, when you were growing up with your friends. If you had an instance wherein you were outcasted and you had to shift your personality to kind of fit in the group at like the ages of 0 to 8 years old, or like, you know, preschool or something, you know, or even in your early grade school years, that would kind of foster that people-pleasing tendency within you, which you could carry towards adulthood. And last, as I mentioned, like with your school, if you were brought up in a school wherein overachieving is just, you know, like the bare minimum, then obviously people-pleasing would come out in a sense that you would want to please like your teachers or the system in your school, stuff like that. And that was applicable for me. Don't get me wrong, I love and appreciate my school because it formed me into the woman I am today, a woman of faith and action. But definitely our school fostered that like you really have to go above and beyond to not only excel in our academics but also excel in our like personalities. Like I remember in my school, so it was an all-girls private school where the rich kids would go, and we would have these awards besides these academic awards wherein they would award like fidelity to duty, like if you were a class officer, like, and if you were doing good and you were showing those good acts to the teachers and they would notice that. There was even an award for like if you were like the super holy saint-like student, they would give you that award. So definitely my school fostered that overachieving, super nice, super holy, have to please the system, the teachers, and everyone culture. And in a sense, that played a part in me growing up as a people-pleasing girly, you know? And I don't blame that, but I'm just acknowledging that it played a part in this people-pleasing tendency of mine. So considering the parents and some friends, your school environment, or your caretakers growing up, these could all play a part in your people-pleasing tendency. So now you know. So now before I tell you ways on how to stop people-pleasing, in the first place, why should you stop people-pleasing? Well, because stopping that people-pleasing side of you and upholding your boundaries allows you to protect that precious, precious energy of yours. And this precious energy of yours is the driving force for you to create a beautiful, fun, and meaningful life. So if you let so much people in without any boundaries, that's you telling yourself that you're allowing other people to disrupt that precious energy of yours. So let's finally get into it. Here are 5 ways to stop people-pleasing and stick to your boundaries. So I have all these written on my phone, so I will read through them. And I really prepared for this based on my experience and everything that I've heard from my podcasts and people that I look up to, that I listen. So here it goes. Number 1, focus on you until the focus is on you. So you know how I mentioned earlier that when growing up, when you have this people-pleasing tendency, usually the case is that validation comes from an external source. So with this reminder, it's basically telling you to get that validation from within you instead. Basically, pour onto your own cup first so you're able to give to others not from a place of lack, but from a place of abundance. Learn how to enjoy your alone time so that no one's presence or absence can affect you. My friends know this about me, but I love spending so much alone time. I go on solo dates, I tend to cave in, and they understand that. And that's because I just love tending to myself, caring for myself, and just staying in my own lane and protecting my energy. And in this time of you spending so much alone time, you learn to discover parts of yourself that you actually really like. Like for me, in this 1 year of singlehood and spending so much alone time, I rediscovered that I missed painting and I love painting. Like growing up, I always knew I loved painting. I did it as a kid. But then now that I'm in my adulthood, and I'm in my single era, rediscovering the fact that I can paint and in a beautiful way just makes me realize how much is going on within me. Like I have all that creativity within me. And when I remember that for myself, I remember that, damn, like I'm really worth it. And remembering your worth allows you to have that courage to put up those boundaries for other people. The second way is to embody black cat energy. And I can make more videos about this in the future if you'd like, but it's basically that I don't chase, I attract energy. So I don't have a cat yet. From what I know, black cats are very picky about their food or how they're being treated. They vocalize a lot when they need something. So usually the owner really has to go out of their way and care for this black cat. And usually these black cats are known to be spiritual protectors. So their owners really have to protect and care for them. And that's the energy you want to embody. These black cats, they're very mysterious. They keep to themselves. They're very maarte, or not super maarte, but like the very divine, feminine energy. And so staying in this energy of a non-chasing mode will allow people to have the space to chase after you instead. So then again, the focus is on you and not them. It's like reclaiming that energy that belongs to you. And doesn't that feel good? Number 3, instead of thinking about how people would think of you, think about how you think of them. So for my hardworking girlies out there who are working on their career, their self-care, and just trying to do all these things to reach their highest version like me, when you know there's a lot of things going on in your life that help you become a better you kind of step into this mindset wherein I don't have to please anyone because there's all these good things happening for me. Why should I have to please them? Instead, they should please me because I have all these things going on for me. And that's kind of like the ego boost when you're trying to work on improving your life. Like when you know your life has direction, you kind of step into that mindset that I don't have to please anyone but myself because I'm working on me, for me, and people who come in my life have to please me instead. Period. A good example of this concept is, for example, you're on a date with a handsome man. And usually the tendency is when you're really into a guy, you tend to think, oh my gosh, what do they think of me? Do they like me? Do they find me attractive? Honey, if you're a hardworking girly who knows that there's a lot of things going on for you, shift that mindset of yours and think, what do I think of them? You know, like when you're on a date and you start to talk about each other's likes, interests, values, what they do for a job, their faith, what they're doing to improve their lives. Like instead of trying to prove to him like I do this and I do this, sit in your black cat energy, stay relaxed, and let him do the talking. And from there you can decide, what do I actually think of this guy? So from there you come from a grounded state and you're just trying to see if, what do I think of this guy? Does he fit my list of standards? Would he be a good match for me? Would we have an abundant future together? That type of thing. And this could also apply to friendships too. Like, for example, you're put in a new environment and you're gonna want to make friends instead of thinking, oh no, what do they think about me? Like, do I fit in the vibe of this group? Girl, no. Stay in your lane, come from a grounded energy, and think of what you think about them. Like, do they actually match your vibrational frequency? Are they into the same things as you? Like, if you're a self-development girly, are they in the same path as you? If they're not, girl, they're not your people. So again, instead of thinking about what others would think of you, think about what you think of them. Number 4, and this is my favorite, learn how to say no. It's a 2-letter word, but it's one of the most powerful out there. A friend invites you to go out and party when you know you have a lot of things to do. No. A guy you're dating pushes you to do something that you don't want to do. No. Practice saying no and don't over-explain. So how I did this as practice, you know those people that come up to you when you're in a mall and they give you a free sample or they try to give you a flyer or just promote something? So for me, I respect their hustle so much and I admire their work. But there are times when I just need my alone time, when I'm running my errands, when I have a lot on my mind and I just want to focus on the tasks at hand in the mall. I don't want to be disrupted in that flow of mine. So before, when they talk to me, I'd really stop and actually talk to them and be so enticed and then end up buying something that I didn't even want to buy in the first place and then regret it. So nowadays, I practice saying no when they would come up to me and I say it with a straight or stern face, like, no, like that. I just say, no thank you, and then walk away. No need to explain or even pretend to look at their product. Just no thank you with a good smile and leave. Now, I don't do this all the time, of course, but this is a good practice of you saying no. And this practice of saying no to the small things helps me say no to the big things, situations, and other people. Like when something doesn't sit right with me, I just say, nope, this is not for me, and then walk away. Keep in mind, small steps lead to big improvements. So with people pleasing, it starts with you learning to say no. And just to put it out there, if you want to work on this habit of you saying no and sticking to your boundaries, I am a certified human-centered and personal development life coach. And if you'd want to work on me one-on-one, my contacts will be in the description box below. Number 5 and the last, you can only set boundaries with others when you learn how to set boundaries with yourself. Let's say you're a hardworking, overachieving girly and you want to accomplish a lot of tasks in a day, but you know you're only able to accommodate around 3 major tasks. Instead of pushing for 4 or more tasks in that day, limit yourself to 3 and stick to that. Honor yourself and acknowledge that your energy can only accommodate this number of tasks for that day. And a very good example of this would be my nail artist. Her name is Ate Lovely, and check out her nail business here in La Union. It's Love Thy Nails, LU. So I recently got my nails done with her, and I love her so much. Literally, it feels like a therapy session when I'm with her. But in my last session with her, I asked her how many clients she takes on per day. And before, I thought she would take on 4 to 5 clients because she really is in demand. Like, her creativity skills with nails is through the roof. That's why I thought she was on demand or in demand. But she told me that she can only accommodate 2 per day, and so she sticks to that. She doesn't really accommodate walk-ins for the most part, and only sticks to 2 because she knows that she can only accommodate 2 clients per day. It's as if she knows how much her energy can accommodate, puts up that boundary and sticks to it, and I love that for her. And that's actually one of the things that compelled me to make this video on how to stop people pleasing and sticking to your boundaries. Like, something as simple as that. When you know you can only accommodate 2 clients per day, stick to it, because you know how efficient you can work when you only stick to these boundaries of yours. So good on you, Ate Lovely. I love that for you. So again, if you learn how to honor your boundaries first, then it's easier for you to impose those boundaries onto others. Like for me, after a long day of selling at our pop-up stands, because I have a vintage clothes business with my sister, so we do pop-ups sometimes. And after a long day of selling, we're all just tired, we go home to eat, and I just need my alone time because we sell for the whole day, right? So once we get home and after we eat our dinner, I tell her, I'm really tired, I need some alone time, that's my boundary, period. And I go up and have my alone time for the rest of the night until the next day. And she honors that boundary of mine. Like, she really doesn't knock unless it's super urgent. She doesn't disrupt my sleep or my alone time. And that's what makes our relationship better. It's me knowing my boundaries, communicating that to her, and her honoring it. And I do the same for her when she puts up her boundaries. So that's a good example of you can only set boundaries with others when you can learn to set boundaries with yourself. Oh my god, we actually reached the end of this video already. But before I put a cap on it, I just want to give you a reminder that in this era of you transitioning to your unapologetic or villain arc era, it's okay to be gentle to yourself. If you grew up as someone who really had people-pleasing tendencies and you're very kind and very considerate of others, you can still be that, because that's me. Like, I'm a very love and light person. Love and light, but with boundaries, you know? You can be that. So be gentle in this transitory period of yours when you're transitioning from a people-pleasing person to an unapologetic, has boundaries, and very demure and mindful person, you know? And in this unapologetic era of mine, I have this quote that I keep in mind, and you can keep this in mind too, which is, I'd rather be hard to deal with than easy to fool. Like, a lot of people would say before, ang ganda-gandang babae, pero ang bobo ng choices. Like, honey, I love that version of me, but I never want to be her anymore. Like, I want to step into this era wherein I'm a very demure, mindful, discerning, love and light, and peaceful woman, and anything that doesn't align with that, bye. And that comes with me putting up my boundaries so that I'm not easy to fool anymore. And last but not the least, remember that people measure their respect for you not based on how many times you tell them that, please respect me, I'm so worthy of respect. Why are you not respecting me? No, they won't respect you with that. People respect you based on how strong you adhere or stick to your boundaries. Some people will really push your boundaries because they're just that type of person. And when you tend to bend over backwards too much for someone, they'll be like, oh, that's how much I can push her to her limit, and continue to push your boundaries. So by you in the first place sticking and adhering to your boundaries, they're gonna know that you're not a person to f with. And that's that on that. We have finally reached the end. Thank you for watching this video. If you like this type of content, please give it a like and subscribe. I've really been into this content creator era of mine. I've been working on it and I really love it. If you want to be part of a community that is into self-development, spirituality, and these types of things that I'm talking about, please do join this channel, subscribe to it. I'd really appreciate it. And again, for the girls, guys, and gays in their self-development era and would want to work on stopping their people-pleasing, sticking to their boundaries, and basically just reaching their highest version, I also offer one-on-one life coaching services at your highest version. So feel free to check the description box below for my contacts for that. And with that, thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!